Now, I'm no investigative journalist, but we're gonna get to the bottom of this Trump-Bush funeral fiasco right now. I'm gonna take you through 3 different pieces of video footage from 3 separate news stations. The Ginger Inspector Gadget is gonna piece the whole thing together for you, because you know as well as I what happens when you go to a news channel. Well, they try to convince you that the guy whose party they're behind is right and everyone else is wrong, but not me. I'm a social scientist. I have no political bias. I have one goal: to teach you what's going on socially so you can decide what was right and what was wrong and learn and apply it in your life. Because I want you to feel confident when you go out there and are around people socially at work or anywhere else you are. At the end of the clip, not now, but once I've taken you through all the different analysis, I want you to let me know in the comments below what you think he did good, what you think he did bad, and what your overall decision is on positive or negative in the comments below at the end of this video. All right, let's roll the game film. In this first piece of footage, you're gonna see what basically every news station besides Fox painted the picture as. So they're showing all the ex-presidents, specifically Obama and the Clintons, joking around, having a good time. It's a lighthearted atmosphere. Everyone's having fun. And if you notice, behind them, everyone else is talking too. And then they say, when mean President Trump came in, the principal walked in, all the fun was sucked out of the room. I don't think that's probably accurate, because it appears to me that when Trump comes in, he's the last person to be seated and the funeral is about to start. So everyone is quiet. If you think at a funeral, everyone's talking beforehand. When they get ready to start, everyone becomes quiet. So I think this clip was shown before the hush fell over the crowd, before the funeral's about to start. I don't think it's because Trump came in, but clearly that's the picture that they wanted to paint. So here's the main clip that everyone is analyzing and has beef with. So Trump walks in. It almost appears that he walks by that front row. The Clintons are slightly looking over. Trump takes off his coat. His wife shaking hands with everybody, Obama, Michelle, and Bill. And now Trump leans over, shakes hands with Obama, and does so as well with Michelle Obama. Okay, so what everyone is saying is he missed both Clintons and Carter and his wife at the end there, all right? They're saying he snubbed them, okay? So the way that I'm looking at this, I'm gonna show you another clip that paints a little bit of a different picture. But the way, when I heard all the outrage about this, I thought it was gonna be something much more dramatic. So from my perspective, if you look back here, he sits down, he's leaning over, and now he leans over 2 people to shake Obama's hand, okay? So with the Clintons, what's he gonna do? He's not Stretch Armstrong. He can't reach all the way down and shake everyone else at the end of the pew's hand, right? So that's my perspective on that. Now, when Bill Clinton was looking over here, so if he wanted to engage Clinton, right after this, when Bill's looking down there, he could have given a little wave. Clearly, Hillary isn't looking. She wants no part of it, so she's not gonna be engaged. He could have engaged Bill Clinton at that point. But this is some other things that I want you to think about. When he came in, we don't know any other variables about this situation. So they could have told him, listen, the TV cameras are rolling. We have to get this thing started within 30 seconds of when you walk down the aisle. We don't know anything like that. We know it's very quiet in there. So for him, about the only thing that he could have done, in my perspective, is to actually walk around the front here, in front of the pew, and go straight up to everyone and shake all their hands. Now, that's a viable thing you could have done. He could have done that. But another variable that we don't know is the hurry, right? It would be a bit rude if everyone's sitting there waiting, they're ready to go, all the news stations are running late, and he's slowly going there engaging everybody. Now, on the other hand, you are the president, so you have the liberty to basically do whatever you want. So if he really would have wanted to do that, if he really wanted to stand out and make a gesture that, you know, everything is forgotten, it's water under the bridge, and shaken both Clinton's hands and Carter and his wife's hands, he could have done that. I don't think that's something that he wanted to do, but I don't think this is something like everyone's saying, where he basically walked by everyone and it's like, hey, not gonna talk to you, sucker, ignore you completely. I don't see it that way. Okay, so now he's coming down the aisle. You can see, look at the atmosphere. No one's joking around or laughing. It's not like Trump coming down the aisle is what created this sober environment. So I think that's definitely played up. But think about this. Think about the logistics. They're walking down the aisle. They're not coming from in front of the other pew right here. So what they did to get up there, maybe they greeted somebody at the front, but I don't think he walked by everybody as much as it looks like from that perspective. So I don't think he was snuffing people as he was walking by. So to look at what really happened, do you think Trump was super pumped to say hello to the Clintons? No, of course not. And unless he had it in his plan to make a grand gesture to engage them, which he could have, he wasn't going to do that, right? He wasn't going to walk to the front of the pew in front of everybody while everybody's waiting and shake their hand. That just wasn't in his playbook. But he also didn't walk by them and ignore them by any means. And an argument could be made for he did the exact right thing. He reached as far as a human can reach to shake hands and engage. Maybe he didn't want to wave down to the Clintons because he figured they wouldn't be looking his way, and then he would look bad for having waved at them and they weren't reciprocating. Then all of a sudden the news says, oh, the Clintons ignored Trump and he looked bad. So I get Trump making that move. I totally understand that. But to boil it down, I just don't think this was near as big of a deal or snub or ignore scene as the way it was played out in the news.
What were they talking about? America watched the nation's top leaders come face to face at today's historic state funeral. But what were they saying? Inside Edition lip-reading expert Larry Wennick says he knows.
Good to see you, Mr. President.
Good to see you, Mr. President.
Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama were especially chummy.
I love it. And family. You mentioned the word family.
Family?
I'm so proud of you.
She said, I'm so proud of you.
Right.
Vice President Mike Pence walked over to greet Hillary Clinton. Mrs. Pence apparently invited Hillary to an event.
You invite me to?
You invite me to? Sounds like she was saying.
To an event?
And what about the pairing of those frenemies, Chelsea Clinton and Ivanka Trump?
Figure out what they're saying there?
Nope.
No.
Not very clear and not close enough.
Not close enough.
We also spoke to body expert Dr. Lillian Glass about the most eagerly awaited moment of the event. President Trump and Melania being seated next to the Obamas and the Clintons.
You see, Obama is very tense around Trump. He has a very phony smile where his lips are pursed, his eyes are not crinkling. Michelle has a phony smile. Her eyes are not crinkling, her lips are tense. So they're trying to be cordial, but their true feelings are coming out.
After Hillary Clinton opened her program brochure at George H.W. Bush's funeral, an envelope fell into her lap. Some others seemed to receive a similar envelope too. It appears former Vice President Joe Biden also received a similar-looking envelope. Karen Pence also received the envelope. While GHWB's casket is being carried past the family, a Secret Service agent leans over towards George W. Bush. Some think he passed a note to him. George Bush then gave this note to his wife Laura and she showed it to Jeb. Jeb Bush was looking the casket go by with his hand over his heart, but quickly getting irritated after Laura Bush showed him the paper she was holding. Jeb looked like horrified at whatever he saw.
One quick question too, sir, about that. Yeah, I seen you touch on the actual Bush funeral with the envelopes that were being unveiled with everybody in almost everybody in attendance. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, and we can speculate a little bit? Because even though we talk about all this kind of facts and stuff, it's sometimes, I guess, fun in a weird way with all this down stuff to kind of speculate.
If folks don't think much is happening, they need to watch Jeb's reaction at the funeral. That was not the reaction of some guy who things are going really well for. Okay. Yeah. So I was not, I was appointed to a position by old man Bush, the National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, being on their board of directors. And I was never a fan of old man Bush.
None of us was.
Okay. And the reason is because I believe he was actually at the center and the heart of a lot of really bad stuff.
Oh,
around the world.
Iran-Contra, running cocaine, killing JFK. I mean, and that's just that's the big ones on the top.
And also, I think a player in the human compromise program of individuals. Mm. Okay, so you can read that into human trafficking or whatever you want.
And mind control, CIA, the massive amounts of that as well.
Right. So I was actually frankly sick. I refused to watch the whole the funeral thing. I mean, the whole where it was almost like how they were carting his body around from Houston to Washington, and then Washington. We're going to go back to Houston, and then we're going to go to the thing. And the day before the funeral, one of my friends who I've known for many years, who's has significant ties into the government, he said, "Are you going to watch a Bush funeral now?" I go, "No, I couldn't stand the guy. Why? No. Why? This is already sickening watching him, how they're talking about what a great patriot he was, and I can't. That's just not. No. Well, you need to. Why do I need to? No. You really need to watch what happens, and you'll know it. I go, what are you talking? Just watch. So I'm watching the thing, right? And a couple things I noticed. One is, they're all kind of yucking it up, right? The first thing I noticed is when Pence walked in, he was all chummy with Hillary. Oh, they were carrying on, and they were having. No, that's kind of okay. I mean, I don't like Pence. I'll put it on the line. I get a lot of heat for that. There's something about the guy that
he's an android from the future.
Yeah,
looks like Race Bannon from Johnny Quest.
Something about the guy, get the same yips around him as I did a number of people in Washington who were really bad players. Okay, so I don't trust the guy. I'm not a fan. And so him talking and loving it up with Hillary, that just fed into my thing of his role with the globalists. And then he goes and he sits down, and next thing I know, Hillary opens this program thing, and something falls out. And I said, "Oh, okay." But then Jimmy Carter looks over at her, and he's kind of like, "Oh, heck, and he obviously didn't have one. He starts talking to Rosalind. She doesn't have one, and he seems all bummed out. And I didn't see anybody else get a note, right? It was just that. And I thought, okay. But then President Trump walked in. And this is what I noticed. When he walked in, Pence and his wife, Karen Pence, were sitting behind him. Neither the president or Melania said boo to the Pences. Didn't say hello, didn't shake their hands, and I'm thinking, all right, so maybe that's what I'm supposed to be watching out for, because obviously, they know I'm not a fan of Pence, and this is an indication, hey, things aren't good there, and the number two's going to be getting the boot. So I'm watching this, and now we're getting through the funeral, and the coffin's going out. And during the program, because I was watching C-SPAN, they showed W writing some stuff down. And the other thing I noticed is that there were two Secret Service guys behind W, but there weren't any Secret Service guys immediately behind, Trump, Obama, Clinton, and Carter, which was kind of weird, right? I mean, why does W have two Secret Service guys behind him and the other guys don't have anybody? So now the casket's going out, and W shows something to Laura. Laura shows it to Jeb, and next thing you know, he looks like he's going to vomit. And I think, oh, that is what I was supposed to see.
My reaction to that was the same as when I got my WrestleMania 17 payoff. That was the exact look on my face. You guys was
right?
like, oh God.
What you guys don't know is it was all copies of Keys to Bob Dole's hotel room orgy afterwards. And they were just
key swap party.
Like, damn, we gotta go.
So after this thing is over, I call my buddies and I say, "Hey, I watched it, and what'd you see?" And then I said, "Well, I saw, Hillary had this thing fall out, and Jimmy Carter was all bummed out. He didn't have it." Well, she wasn't the only one, okay, who there was an envelope. And then it turned out that Michelle got one, and Karen Pence got one, and Jill Biden got one, and I said, "So what?" And they also told me there were some other people in the crowd that got them further back.
I was thinking, what if that's a best way to serve somebody with a subpoena? Like, you're at a funeral, open the shit, and there it is.
Yeah. So I said, "So what was in that?" And they go, "It was a list of coming attractions."
Oh.
Ooh.
I said,
like,
"Oh,
that's awesome."
Oh, because it wasn't a subpoena or an indictment because it was too small, right?
Yeah.
And whatever it was, it got their attention real fast, right? So then I said, Well, then, what was going on with Jeb? And because his reaction was he was about to vomit, and they said, well, it was a culmination of W having flipped months before.
Wow.
I was just about to ask you that
That's right.
question. Do you think he flipped, and you just answered it?
I think it was actually the fetus in the jar.
As I understand it, people, conspiracy theory, fine. As I understand it, Pence was the Bush's insurance policy.
Now,
okay.
Yeah,
And
man.
that a little more. I'm not sure if I follow that.
Remember you mentioned the Super Bowl and they rolled George H.W. Bush out to flip the coin? So then he goes back to his box. Who was up in the box with H.W. Bush at the Super Bowl?
Pence, I guess.
Pence.
Yeah.
Pence
So
is
he's the inside player.
tight with the Bushes. Real tight with the Bushes. And what
Well,
the Bushes are all about. And if Trump would be removed from power and Pence comes in, he was their insurance policy.
a spirited young aviator, the fierce campaigner.
We face many dangerous threats in this dangerous world, but I'm not afraid of them. I'm prepared for them.
An irascible statesman.
We never hide from history. We make history.
Through it all, John McCain carried himself as a joyful warrior.
I've enjoyed it, every single day of it, the good ones and the not so good ones. I've been inspired by the service of better patriots than me.
Patriotism rooted in family. His father and grandfather, both admirals, passed down his name and his Navy career. More than 50 years ago, on his 23rd mission over Vietnam, enemy fire downed his plane.
3 American planes were shot down and at least 2 of their pilots captured. One of them was Lieutenant Commander John McCain, 3rd.
A prisoner of war for almost 2,000 days, tortured and beaten.
Taken to the hospital where I almost died.
McCain refused early release to deny communist North Vietnam a propaganda victory. In 1973, a celebrated welcome home. Courage in war that forged his national identity.
I fell in love with my country when I was a prisoner in someone else's.
When McCain remarried in 1980, wife Cindy's home state of Arizona became his political base, elected to Congress and 6 terms in the U.S. Senate, where he became known as the Maverick. McCain often angered conservatives over issues like immigration, railed against Washington's penchant for pork barrel spending, and challenged his own party's president, George W. Bush, to change strategy in the Iraq War.
Early on, I came out and said this could be not only a long struggle, but a losing one unless we change the strategy.
McCain's presidential ambition boarded his Straight Talk Express twice. In 2000, winning the New Hampshire primary, but having to wait another 8 years to become the Republican candidate for president.
I fight to restore the pride and principles of our party.
Trailing Barack Obama, McCain rattled the race by propelling Sarah Palin onto the ticket. But history had another plan. McCain returned to the Senate and remained a prominent voice.
Probably I'm proudest of being able to contribute to the security of this country and the men and women who serve it.
Are you okay? Can I get you anything?
His fame led to fun, cameos, and comedies.
Sorry, I hope everything's okay.
McCain loved to get a laugh. He often referred to himself as an imperfect public servant. Facing a dire diagnosis like brain cancer, fired his independent streak, calling out a gridlock Senate.
We're getting nothing done, my friends. We're getting nothing done.
The fighter also turned reflective.
I celebrate what a guy who stood 5th from the bottom of his class at the Naval Academy has been able to do. I am so grateful. Every night when I go to sleep, I am just filled with gratitude.
With hard-earned scars and an enduring wit, John McCain made service to country the cause of his life.
I've been getting into it on Twitter this morning with people over this, is that people are saying this is just free speech, you're being a snowflake, you're so sensitive. First of all, you're talking about sitting senators, and you're talking about Congress people, Maxine Waters, Mitt Romney, Adam Schiff, Bernie Sanders, President Obama, the Clintons, my father, you can't kill him again, but whatever. My father, you can't kill him again, but whatever.
Those are real problems. No one in your party stands up about it.
Look, I learned early on in my job when I had a fight with the unions that, and sometimes you have to fight and stand tough, but if you do it all the time, it's distracting. You can't achieve your bigger purposes, and it's not about some, it's not about I win, you lose. The other thing is when you look at the Congress, though, it's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death. John McCain was put to death.